Welcome back. So in this video we're going to see domain 2 technologies and tools. 2.3 the part 2.3 given a scenario troubleshooting common security issues. So troubleshooting common security issues. So in domain 3 of the security plus SYO-501 exam is a new addition to the version of the certifications. So that seeks to determine your understanding of basic security related troubleshooting and fault finding. So the exam requires a certain level of real world understanding on the part of the test candidate. So we will take a look one by one. So you'll get a clear idea about this. So what is unencrypted, logs and events, anomalies. Okay, so we will go through one by one. So unencrypted credentials, clear text. So normally the exam expect you to understand that clear text transmissions and encrypted credential as a means of authentication are no longer acceptable on modem network and the internet. So CompTIA test your understanding in this regards. You can expect questions that touch on this, so either directly or indirectly. So this has real world relevance as well. So your key takeaway from this is that you don't want to use unencrypted communications that transmit credential. In addition, a candidate should know about secure methods of encryption such as VPN protocol like TLS, SSH and IPsec. Candidates are expected to know that some versions of FTP, Telnet and unencrypted HTTPs are useful for sub-troubleshooting exercise where packet sniffer can inspect traffic and determine what data is vulnerable. So you can see on the screens the password rules not enforced, system configurations meaning the application or service stores or sends clear text passwords. So people storing clear text passwords online spreadsheet document database or offline, so write them down. So handy with pepper, something like that. So user type password into user ID. So the four key point is very important. I mean uh, the notable points, and the solution is automating password policy, proper system configuration, application development, use of password vaults, user education. So the four solution right side is very important. So it's a best practice for this unencrypted credentials clear text. The second one, so logs and events anomalies. So here, so normally in the exam SYO-501, your knowledge about log storage and what the best practice are, such as what data needs to be stored as well as what to do in the event of your log storage systems becoming affected or compromised. So outlining how to mitigate any potential information loss and external manipulations is important in this scenario. So be sure to understand the concept involved here. So you should be familiar with logging service, log file permissions, and where to look for specific anomalies in the log file. So candidates should also be aware of the solution such as backup restorations, localized systems repairs to centralized logs and events and records keeping systems on the network. Understand what you should do if suspicious activities are detected on the network. So the basic 4 point, the important notable point is process of collecting data for monitoring and auditing purpose, logging standards for platform applications and servers, balancing too much and too little, log monitoring the solutions. So we can say centralized logging, use of SIEM. So there's a management tool. So you can Splunk is one of the best example, and then SOC Security Operations Center. Third is a permission issue. So in these topics, normally the candidate must understand what privilege and permissions mean in the context of general computer usage, as opposite sorry as opposed to what your rights are. So this includes terms such as the principle of least privilege, which is a methodologies employed by network administrator that gives users just enough control over the systems to accomplish their day-to-day task. So given too many privilege, the user may inadvertently and adversely affect the enterprise. So while too few privilege will lead to user not being able to work properly. So you have to be very careful on that. So don't give the too much privilege and then little privilege. So how to make sure the right privilege to the users. So candidate must also understand group policies or for network resource, and how to determine which users need access to specific resource and which don't need access. So troubleshoot permissions issue is also is requirement as is in the understanding of group permissions in a network environment, especially in scenarios where single users are member of the multiple groups with the potential configuring policies. So here you can see here that, as I said, list privilege violations, the privilege creeping, then employee adding permissions over times, inherited permissions allowing access. So these all are the important thing. The solution is auditing, reporting, and response. So the next one, access violations. Access violation is to understand what an access violation is. Know the difference between unauthorized access to the network or network resource and improperly configured users permissions that result in unauthorized access. The exam will test your knowledge on system specific access violations such as changed system files, missing system files, and other evidence of unusual file states and possible access violations on the system. So the same thing, the solution is auditing, reporting, and response. So the certification issues, you can say a candidate should understand what circumstances are necessary to allow for certifications issues, such as how to prevent them from appearing with their environment. Candidates should be familiar with the digital certificate and CA problem, as well as a public key and trust roots. So candidates should also understand what steps need to be taken in the event of certificate being used, criminal activity, CRL or OCSP, the certifications, so general certification troubleshooting. So you can see the certifications warning. So use of SSL instead of TLS on web server. So self-signed certificate. So next is the data exfiltrations. So data here is a candidate should be aware of how to data exfiltrations events means that there has been an intrusions from outside of the network and what steps need to be taken in the aftermath. Data loss and data leakage need to be understood along with what potential losses could be incurred by the company. So normally the steps to be troubleshoot data exfiltration should also be understood, so as well as the basic countermeasures. So understand how data logs could be useful when conducting an event post-mortem and what to look out. So the best solution is a data loss prevention is one of the thing. So security configuration. So misconfiguration device, and then weak security configurations are not enabling security features. So old rules, how to update the rules, the latest ones, and then ordering of rules are not denied by default. So default password is uh, has to be changed. So missing update. So everything you can see here. So and these topics, misconfigured device meaning so is understand how a misconfigured device has the potential to act as a starting point for an attack on your system. So and what you should do when you discover a device that has not been configured correctly. So in the exam it will test uh, they will test your knowledge about the procedures such as baseline documentations, procedures, and best practice for configuration network device. There are three few important things: firewall, content filter, access points. Normally the firewalls you need to be aware that yeah, misconfigured firewall has the potential to open up the internal network to external threats, allowing unauthorized access to the network and leaving the organization vulnerable to malwares and other malicious software. So you should know about patches, update, configuration error, and management interface access. So basic security concepts such as changing the default administrator passwords and disabling the WAN management interfacing should also be understood by the candidate. So now the second, content filter is knowing how content can fail, as well as what the failure can mean for your network is important, and questions relating to this management might be in the exam. So you have to be careful on this. So candidate should understand basic payload structure and basic encoding formats such as ASCII, hex, and Unicode. So as well as the process results when dealing with the content filter. Exploits such as meta characters and undesirable data sheets within the data package should also be understood for the exam. The third one is access point. So misconfigured access points are among the most common points of attack. So in this exam, it requires candidate to understand so what measures should be taken to prevent unauthorized access, such as outdated firmware, default username and password, unlocked management interface, and more. Candidate must also know about the best practice with regards to WPA2 encryptions and password creations, as well as a multi-factor authentications. So personal issues. So here the policy violations, insider threats, social engineering, social media, and then personal email. So here the candidate should be familiar with the policy violation for the exam, as well as the different types of action to take in the event of security incident as a result of policy violations. Be familiar with the outcomes such as retraining, reassignment, and terminations. The severity of outcome will be determined by the seriousness of the breach. So, so in the policy violations, as I said, uh, the severity of outcome will be determined by the series of the breach. So insider threat. So for this exams, the candidate should know that an insider threat is a deliberate effort on the part of the employee to causes the damage to the network, reveal company secrets, or adversely affect the operation of the enterprise. So example are revealing remote access and password and intentional virals and malware infections via insecure media such as mobile device or removable media. Understand what needs to be done in the aftermath of such as event and how the information and resource within the organization might need to be reassessed and re-secured. So the social media, like social engineering. So the exam touch the exam touches on uh, on social engineering and how it is used against business to gain unauthorized access to the company information and resource. Understand the key components of investigation after such as event, as well as a training program and countermeasures for the exam. So social media. So the social media candidate must be familiar with the company acceptable usage policy, how to prevent access to such a social media sites via firewalls and filters on the network, as well as a group policy implementation to restrict such access. Personal email. So the exam requires candidate to understand the dangerous that personal email can have on organizations. Okay, items such as malware and email virus, or such a email such a example blocking access is one such a common solutions and could come up in the exam as way to troubleshoot and prevent such access from occurring. So the solution is the policies and security awareness training is a must. So application issues, unauthorized software. So unauthorized software, especially pirated and cracked software, has the potential to bring malware into a network. For the exam, so think about the software that could be installed, such a scenario, what category it fits into. So legitimate software useful in the work environment. So malicious, potential malicious, malicious or potential malicious, so not work related. Then business software alliance, and the solution you can see in the right side, the implementations, a policy for software acquisitions, read all license agreements, maintain an inventory list. That's very important. So audit for compliance. Baseline deviations. So for this exam, candidates should be aware of what to do in the event of baseline definitions. Either remove the unit from the productions or change the baseline if the deviations is actually beneficial. Understand concepts such as static system and and restrictive system modification policies. So this is a it's like in the list you can see normalize, establish no baseline systems or network activity. So either system or network activities. So operating systems image issues like baseline not established properly, so and baseline corrupted sometime, out of date, so due to the patches, so we are not aware of the patches, so dynamic baseline is more effective than the static baseline, so rather than static baseline. License compliance. License compliance is understand the importance of legal software in the avoidance of legal issues for business. Also be aware of how software can only be used when properly licensed, and under what circumstances you would find software being used outside of the license scope, which would therefore be problematic. So explore over utilizations by installing multiple instances of software that exceeds the license quantities as an example of non-compliance. Asset management. So asset management is like candidate so must understand how tracking hardware and software is achieved through asset management. So be familiar with the update, revisions, replacements and upgrades as part of the asset management process. Learn about theft, losses, and accidental disposal as part of asset management. Also understand the concept and necessity for manual verifications of asset management system by means of physical count or stock take. So issues normally mobile computers, laptop, tablet, smartphones, and then removable device. So include software management, employee installing apps that they shouldn't. Authentication issue. So authentication issue is a large territory, but candidates should be familiar with the credential violations, what to do in the event of credential leaks, system breach that result in the invalidations of all passwords, and steps to follow up after an account impersonation incidents. Authentications issues can also result from system failure, so failed authentication troubleshooting steps should also be learned as part of your preparation for the exam. So the solution on the right side is account verifications, check connectivities, review logs, user educations. Okay, questions. Sample questions. So for these common security issues, the first item to check as you begin the troubleshoot process is that the correct username and password have been entered. Answer? Answer is authentication errors. So that's it, guys, for today this video. So we will see on the more labs the later on videos. So please subscribe my channel, press the bell button to get more update, share the video if you like. Bye bye, see you.